Hi everyone, Lexi here. I just got back from watching Tron Ares and had an absolute blast seeing it on IMAX. Maybe you'll hear me talk about it on a podcast soon, but seeing that movie reminded me of all the awesome sci-fi RPGs I've played over the years. So, thanks to Tron Ares, and by the way, this isn't sponsored or anything, I'm putting together a list of 10 sci-fi RPGs you should absolutely play, if you haven't already. But before we dive in, I've got a few ground rules. Rule 1. Only one game per series. So no doubling up on Final Fantasy, no endless Shin Megami Tensei variations, none of that. Rule 2. Priority goes to games that don't get talked about much on the channel. There are a few exceptions, of course, because some games are just too good not to mention. And while you're watching this video, list your favorite sci-fi RPGs in the comments below. Keeping those in mind, here's my list. I thought it fitting to start a sci-fi RPG list with a true classic, Phantasy Star 4: The End of the Millennium. A lot of you probably haven't played this one, so let me paint the picture. It's an anime-style JRPG that came out on the Sega Genesis, packed with all the twists and turns you'd expect from stories in the genre today. It even has its own names for items and abilities that give it that distinct sci-fi flavor. All 4 games in the series are connected, but only loosely, so you don't have to worry about playing them in order. What really makes Phantasy Star 4 stand out, though, are its gorgeous anime-style cut-ins. These little comic-style moments that breathe life into the storytelling. No RPG matched that kind of presentation until Final Fantasy VII's CG cutscenes years later. So if you want to experience the side of Sega that actually made its own turn-based RPGs, and no, buying Atlas doesn't count, Phantasy Star 4 is where to start. And once you're done, join the rest of us, still begging Sega to make Phantasy Star 5. Speaking of, Final Fantasy VII pushed the series further down the sci-fi path that started with Part 6's steampunk vibes, this time tackling eco-terrorism, corporate greed, and the threat of draining the planet's life energy. Now, my pick here really covers every version of Final Fantasy VII, from the original to the remake trilogy, but I'm showing gameplay from Final Fantasy VII Rebirth here. The materia system completely changed how customization worked in the series, decoupling skills and abilities from jobs so you could build wild combinations and really experiment. And the remake series only built on that, expanding materia setups, creating its own blend of hybrid action and turn-based combat, and keeping that sense of discovery alive decades later. Whether you experience Midgar's density through the remake or finish the original, it's hard to deny that Final Fantasy VII is one of the defining sci-fi RPGs of all time. And for the remake trilogy haters, you're really gonna sit there and tell me you hate the trilogy when that gave us this? From adorable dogs to downright grotesque-looking creatures, not a lot of people think of horror when they hear science fiction. But horror has always been a part of it. And when it comes to this style of RPGs, Parasite Eve proved that a horror sci-fi RPG hybrid can absolutely work. Featuring wildly mutating mitochondria, and hey, be careful out there if you're taking those mitochondria supplements. This story dives straight into genetic terror, where plants and animals all evolve into something monstrous. At the center of it all is Aya Brea, one of the most iconic Squaresoft heroines to ever grace the CRT and beyond. The combat system was unlike anything else at the time. Part tactical RPG, part active time battle, directed by the same person behind Live Alive. And yeah, it's easy to say Squaresoft was chasing Resident Evil's success, but they didn't just copy what Capcom was doing. They made something only Squaresoft could deliver. Sure, its follow-ups never lived up to the original, but the first Parasite Eve still stands out today. a stylish, unsettling blend of science fiction and horror that no one's managed to replicate since. Speaking of mutations, Fallout 3 made me paranoid of radroaches ever since I first played it. And before I go on, did anyone else think it was weird to call roaches rad? No? Just me? Okay, carrying on. I still remember the first time I accidentally nuked an entire town because of one foolish decision, and I still feel bad about it today. This was Bethesda's first take on the series after digging the franchise out of dormancy for almost a decade. Character creation literally started with you as a baby, letting you sculpt your face before meeting your dad, played by none other than Liam Neeson.
Happy birthday, honey. I can't believe you're already 10.
And of course we gotta protect Daddy Neeson. In fact, that's the game's entire premise. You gotta get out of the vault and find him. And the first time you step out of the vault, it'll feel like entering a world that's familiar yet strange, and just a little too dusty. I'll be honest, I was never much of an Elder Scrolls fan. But when I played Bethesda's Fallout 3, I fell in love. It's probably my absolute favorite Bethesda game ever, expansions included. So this list is missing a little bit of existential dread, and if Nier Automata teaches anything, it's that what you think is happening might not be what's really going on. Every playthrough peels back a new layer of meaning, forcing you to question everything you thought you understood. The Nier series is bold enough to use every tool games can offer to tell its story. Text adventures, shoot-em-ups, action sequences, even fake endings, all in service of the narrative. That ambition makes it unlike anything else. And beyond the incredible combat, striking art direction, and beautifully designed characters, it's a game that constantly asks, what does it mean to be human? Through androids built to serve a humanity that's almost certainly gone, Nier Automata explores purpose, memory, and connection. How we define ourselves when there's no one left to define us. It's both haunting and hopeful, a reminder that even in a dying world, meaning can still be created through choice. And if Nier Automata's existential questions left you uneasy, Shin Megami Tensei Strange Journey Redux will make sure you never get comfortable again. This is Shin Megami Tensei at its most unrelenting, a psychological science fiction RPG that makes you confront the cost of survival. You play as part of a United Nations expedition sent to Antarctica to investigate the Schwarzfeld, a dimensional anomaly threatening to consume the planet. Outfitted in your Demonica suit, you explore ever-shifting sectors, recruit demons through negotiation, and make decisions that pull you toward law, chaos, or the fragile space in between. Fans often describe Strange Journey as one of the series' most demanding entries, and they mean it in every sense. Its writing is dense, its tone precise, and its atmosphere relentlessly heavy. Some even say the repetition in its dungeons feels intentional, like the game is testing your resolve as much as your strategy. The Redux version on 3DS adds new routes, the enigmatic Alex, and alternate endings that sharpen its moral edge. It's cold, methodical, and deeply thought-provoking. A true sci-fi RPG about staring into humanity's mistakes and deciding whether it's worth saving. Let's lighten things a little bit, shall we? Some of you are probably scratching your heads right now thinking, but Lexi, you didn't even give Digimon Story Time Stranger a good review. Why is it on this list? That's a fair question, and I actually asked myself the same thing more than once. After thinking about it for a while, I realized that beyond all the sci-fi horror energy of Strange Journey or the larger Shin Megami Tensei franchise, I wanted something that showed that style of game in a more playful way, one that had a really fun and unique take on evolution. And given that criteria, the choice was made clear. Now, yeah, Time Stranger borrows a lot from Cyber Sleuth, albeit more streamlined and very familiar, and I wasn't totally sold on it, but plenty of people were. And that's the thing. It doesn't have to reinvent the wheel to deserve a spot here. In Time Stranger's case, it just needs to make people happy, and clearly it did. So even if it's not groundbreaking or new, Digimon Story Time Stranger absolutely earns its place on this list. To add to the weird choices on this list, I'm including Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Yes, the one with that cliffhanger ending that's still unresolved, instead of Cyberpunk 2077 and its Phantom Liberty expansion. Why? Because Cyberpunk 2077's launch soured me completely. I tried to play it on PS4 when it first came out, and that awful experience stuck with me to this day. Even after the updates, that sour taste still lingers. But Mankind Divided? That game launch was solid. Even compared to Phantom Liberty, it gave players more ways to tackle missions. And before you ask, I'm talking about stealth. Its stealth systems weren't long-winded or overly complicated. They were focused, satisfying, and made you feel empowered. And while its environments were smaller than Cyberpunk's, it somehow gave you more freedom to play your way. And if you wanted to go guns blazing, you could do that too. So if you haven't played it yet, and you loved Cyberpunk 2077, check out both Deus Ex Human Revolution and Mankind Divided. Or maybe wait for the Deus Ex Remaster, which is still an incredible game in its own right. Moving from a smaller universe to a much larger one, I'm sure a lot of you were waiting for this: Mass Effect. And it might even surprise you to hear that I enjoyed all of them. Yes, even Andromeda. Of all Western RPG studios, BioWare has always felt the most in tune with Japanese RPG storytelling, with its deep character development blended with plot-driven structure. But Mass Effect went even further, merging those strengths with third-person shooter gameplay to create a series that so many of us still love. While the sequels leaned more into action, it's the original that really won me over. I love tinkering with different types of ammo to squeeze out every bit of damage, pairing that with abilities to create some wild combos. Sure, the enemies could be a little spongy, but that didn't take away from the sense of awe the game delivered at every turn. I don't know what the future of the series looks like. We only know that a new game is coming, but I sincerely hope that it captures that same spark. Mass Effect always felt fast, even with its smaller focused levels. And that's what makes it unforgettable. And a list of sci-fi RPGs wouldn't be complete without one of my absolute favorites, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. Everyone I've talked to about this game walks away wishing that they could play it again for the first time. It's this brilliant mix of point-and-click adventure gameplay, and no, I refuse to call it a visual novel, paired with tactical tower defense-style combat that may never be topped. Add a genre-bending science fiction story packed with nods to classic movies, books, and media in the genre, and you get a game that constantly feeds your inner sci-fi nerd. Each reveal pulls you deeper, turning you into a detective, piecing together every clue, and maybe making you just a little paranoid. As you rotate between 13 different characters, the handy timeline and encyclopedia keep everything clear, no matter how wild it gets. It's a story that could only come from Vanillaware, and sadly, one they'll probably never tell again. But the only way to really feel what makes it special is to play it yourself. Watching a playthrough won't do it justice. 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim is pure magic, and if you haven't played it yet, now's the perfect time. And there you have it, 10 incredible sci-fi RPGs that show just how wide and weird this genre can get. I tried my best to keep it one game per series, but if we'd opened the floodgates, there are so many others that could have made it. Chrono Trigger, Star Ocean, and plenty more that blur the line between fantasy and science fiction. But now, I want to hear from you. What's your favorite sci-fi RPG? Western, Japanese, old, or new, whatever world it comes from. Drop it in the comments so we can keep this conversation going. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel and get reviews, previews, and feel-good discussions about JRPGs, indies, niche titles, and beyond. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.